ख़वातीन हज़रात, सिब्तैन काज़मी आपके सामने पेश खिदमत आप और आपके एक और एपिसोड के साथ। जैसा कि माजी में मैंने अर्ज़ किया कि मेरी हमेशा कोशिश ये होती है कि मेरे मेहमान ऐसे हों जिन्होंने अपने प्रोफेशन और अपनी ज़िंदगी में ऐसे काम किए हों जो ना सिर्फ उनके लिए कुछ हद तक फ़ायदेमंद हों बल्कि ऑल्सो कौम के लिए भी हों। और दीज आर द हिडन हीरोज़ ऑफ आवर कम्युनिटी। तो इसी चीज़ को मद्देनज़र रखते हुए मेरी आज की जो मेहमान हैं ना सिर्फ बहुत काबिल बल्कि एक सोशल मीडिया तो नहीं कहूँगा लेकिन उन्होंने बैकग्राउंड में बहुत काम किए हैं। तो विदाउट एनी फर्दर डिले आई वुड लाइक टू वेलकम Miss Andaleeb Geloo. Hi Andaleeb, Assalamu alaikum.
Hi,
How are you?
Assalamu alaikum. I'm good, thank you.
Well, first of all, thank you very much for coming out and from your busy schedule, because you being an attorney, I'm sure your schedule gets filled up quite fast.
Well, I'm honored to be here. Thank you. Thank you for
Pleasure.
inviting me.
So, Andaleeb, tell me, you are an attorney, and so first, which state do you practice in?
So I practice in Virginia. I'm barred and licensed to practice in Virginia, but I'm also licensed to practice in DC.
Okay.
But in the last 15 years or so, my practice is primarily focused in Virginia.
In Virginia. And I don't know much about law. How does that work? Does every attorney have a particular field that they work in, or how does that work?
Yes. Well, I started out as a general practitioner, so I did just about everything. And then my practice sort of, I began specializing in general misdemeanors. So misdemeanors, traffic, some civil, personal injury. So I do pretty much focus on those types of cases. At one time I did, felonies, but being a solo practitioner, my practice primarily was focused in the general district courts where I practice and I actually enjoy it very much.
Wonderful. And you went to school in the area?
Yes, I went to George Washington University.
Oh, nice. It's one of the best law schools, I believe.
Yeah, I actually very much enjoyed law school. I was one of those nerds who I didn't miss school. I went to every class and I really soaked it up. I enjoyed law school.
Wonderful, wonderful. So why did you pick GW?
Well, it was in DC. I could stay close to my family, and I had gone to GD. I had gone to the school for my criminal justice degree, so I also have a master's.
Okay.
And I just like the environment. I like the culture of DC, and the professors are outstanding. So I wanted to do my law studies there as well.
Besides you, I don't know a single lady from Pakistan who is in this field. So what made you become a lawyer?
Well, I'm the youngest of three.
Okay.
And I think my parents wanted 3 doctors. But over time I realized that my interest really lay in going to law school. I wanted to know about my rights. I often felt as an immigrant, I came to this country when I was almost 6. And I often felt invisible. In elementary school, I was set in the back of the class, even though I was probably one of the smarter kids.
Okay.
I couldn't speak English. I felt unheard. I felt unseen. And over time, I realized that law would help me sort of suss out those people like myself, those people who felt marginalized. Okay. And I wanted to help that community. I wanted to help my community. So I could do that as a lawyer. I could probably do that in any profession, but that's why I chose
law degree definitely helped your voice. So a lot of lawyers, but not always, they like to get into politics or political lawyers or something like that. Did you have any wish like that?
No, I don't. I enjoy my clients. I enjoy coming to court. I like going through their issues, going through their cases. I just enjoy the courtroom experience far too much to walk away from that and enter the political arena. I'm not even a political person.
Okay.
I feel like I'm myself. Whatever's in my heart, I say it. So
very good.
It would be difficult for me to sort of isolate myself into the political world. It's a very, very different world.
Really? Okay.
And for me, I just enjoy my clients. I like helping people through their troubles. That people often come to a lawyer, especially a criminal defense lawyer, which is what I do, at their lowest, when they feel like they need. I mean, definitely you want to help them resolve their legal issues in court, but that communication, that contact, it's something they often can't even share with their spouses. I remember when I first started out as a criminal defense attorney, I was one of the few attorneys who would go to the jails to visit my clients the moment they were arrested. If for nothing else, just to have them have someone to talk to on Christmas Eve, on New Year's Eve.
Wow, yeah.
And some of the deputies would say, Andy, we don't see a lot of lawyers here on these holidays. But, and I got a lot out of that. I enjoyed that. I got it was rewarding. And from those cases, I continued, just multiplied and multiplied, and I continued. My entire practice was built from those initial cases that I did when I first started out as a court-appointed attorney.
Oh. And how long you've been? No, that's definitely something to be very proud of.
Yeah, I've never advertised in 15 years, which your question.
Well, I was going to ask you, yes.
I've never advertised. All of my cases are by way of referral. Other attorneys in the courthouse, clients I've represented, organizations that have come to me. I'm very proud of that.
Because I love your industry. I don't have enough brain cells to go to that much extent of education. No, I'm not. I went to court to do translations at one point. It was so much fun. It was really.
It's very difficult to do.
It was funny.
Difficult.
I'm like, because the guy will talk to me in Urdu and he will go on and give me the whole shebang, and basically he's saying, no, I don't want to do this. So I will tell the judge, he said, no. He goes, what are you talking about? He just went on for like 45 seconds, and you said in 3 seconds. I need to have word by word translation. So it was initially it was difficult because it is not, but eventually I did it for like a couple of years.
Yeah.
And it was fun.
Which means you were good at it if you did it for a few years, because it's not easy. Yeah.
Oh, really? I guess I just like to talk. So okay. So we talk about law. So anything which besides, and what you just said, that when they come to you, they are at their lowest and they are not happy with them and whatnot, who not. I don't want to ask you about your particular clients, that what kind of cases you have solved, but any particular arena within law which affected you that, I got to fix this? Something you like to share with us?
Every day, because, I've done cases from kidnapping to malicious wounding to, rape charges, all the way to the misdemeanors that I do today. And it just depends on the person, because, for example, if you were charged with, let's say, possession of marijuana, today it's not a misdemeanor. It's still not complete. It's not legal, but it's not a misdemeanor anymore. That would affect you and how you would feel and how you would convey yourself to me.
Yeah.
You'd feel like, you're going to lose everything if you get this drug charge. I mean, I'm going to react to that.
Correct.
And I'm going to embrace you in a certain way and react to you in a certain way, as I would, probably the same way as I would somebody else who's just, maybe is on his third DUI or perhaps his third felony drug distribution. It just depends on the person. I once represented a school teacher who was charged with reckless driving. And that representation and dealing with this person's emotional state at having been charged with a misdemeanor. And here he was actually in NASA's program, and he was I think a second grade teacher. He loved what he did. And he had all these aspirations. He was going to go on to medical school, but he could not believe he was charged with this. I held his hand as much as I held the hand of someone who was facing 5 years in jail on a felony. So it just really depends on the individual. And that's why I love what I do, because it's rewarding to me. I never want anyone walking away feeling that, you know what, she was very snobbish to me, or she looked down at me because of what I've been charged with. I never
You
want
don't
anyone
judge.
to feel, I do not judge any. I never want anyone to feel small.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't really matter whether you've been charged with a crime or whether you're a 6 or 7-year-old in elementary school and someone just doesn't want to talk to you at the lunch table. You never want to make somebody feel small, because we're all
Correct.
human beings and we all
Absolutely.
sit around.
And we all have equal rights in this world and the next. So, just a thought came to my mind. I remember that movie called, I love lawyer movies, right? So there was a movie, I believe it was with Richard Gere and Ed Norton. And Ed Norton character is bipolar in that. So they charged him with a crime of murdering a couple of people, and then Richard Gere decided to represent him and defend him in the case. So for the longest time, he said, this guy is so nice, blah, 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 and there's no way he could commit that crime. But then on one day he goes to jail to visit him, and then his other side comes in. And then he's like, oh, wait a minute. So when you take a client, how often does it happen that you don't believe what they're saying, right? And then, because in order for you to represent a case, you have to believe the
That's
fact
right.
the guy didn't do it, right? So you walk in, or you took the case not believing the fact that this guy is telling me the truth, but you still decided to represent him, and you go to judge or go to courtroom. So what are the things comes to your mind at that time?
So you're talking about the more serious cases.
You know, I know I was not speeding, Your Honor.
Okay.
Or
That's a
speeding
different-
with a
right.
with a guilt without
Right.
with an explanation
Sure,
sort of thing,
sure.
right?
Yeah.
So, what, and you have to be a great reader of of an individual, of a human being, that to be able to tell if this guy is telling you the truth or not.
Well, I'm going to, in my mind, I won't mention the case, but
Yes,
I'm
please.
going to respond as if I'm responding to this other case that's actually very serious, because I think that's what you're referencing. I have never taken a case where I didn't believe in my client. That has never happened.
Okay.
Now, maybe when I've stepped off the case, or if the case has been resolved and things have been revealed to me, and after the fact, that's a different story.
Correct.
Of course, I'm never going to share that with anyone.
Of course.
But while I'm representing my client, I have 100% believed in whatever that they've shared with me, their story. I've believed in. Now, for smaller cases like you mentioned, speeding or something, oftentimes clients on those cases will tell you what the real deal really was. But I would never tell a judge he wasn't speeding or he didn't know. And he may not have known he was going this fast. But you don't always have to. It's about your client's cause. It's about upholding the Constitution. It's not necessarily, the defense isn't necessarily my client didn't do this, and you would never say that if you believed your client did. But were his rights violated? Was this evidence obtained in violation of your client's rights? And should this come forward? No. If you want to preserve the Constitution, you want to preserve the rights for future clients, and for the citizens of our country, that's really what you're defending.
Okay.
You're making sure that everybody crosses their T's and dots their I's.
Cross their T's and does this. I like that. Now, being a woman, being a lawyer, and have a voice, and lawyers' voice holds, journalists and lawyers, their voice matters a lot. Did you ever think about representing women who are not as privileged in life as other women would be? Like, I'm sure you come across that somebody's wife or daughter or sister was beaten up by them. Like in Pakistan, that lady, Qurratul Ain, I believe, she was killed by her brother, honor killing and all that. So, do you come across some women who need help like that?
Yes, I've actually done a lot of victims advocacy work in the first several years of my practice, and I continue to do it. And I'm actually very proud of that aspect of my work. it's actually very near and dear to my heart. I'll tell you, without obviously naming clients, I would never do that. But
Yeah.
I did have a case where I was representing this young woman who was charged with filing a false police claim. Her husband was with her in court, and the allegation was that she had lied to a police officer, stating that she had been beaten up, that her husband had assaulted her. Well, I knew that that was true. I knew that that had happened.
Oh.
But because they were at the cusp of poverty, her immigration was dependent upon him.
Okay.
Her children's livelihood and her livelihood was dependent on him. I had to fight for her, and I had to convince the prosecutor in that particular case that I believed that this really did happen. And the reason she filed this complaint was because she had second thoughts. She was a forward thinker. He did that to her. She filed the complaint as we were supposed to do, as any woman, any citizen should do if they're in danger or if they've been assaulted, if they're victim of domestic assault. She did the right thing. But then she sat back and realized I have no other support but this guy.
Oh.
So do we want to forever brand her as a liar? Do we want to do that? Because to be honest with you, there was enough evidence to support that conviction, although I did find a loophole. And we were going to appeal that case. So right before we went to trial, I pulled the prosecutor aside and I conveyed this to him. And he agreed with me that he didn't want that. Now, the officer on that case, surprisingly, was a woman and was really going after my client. That argument left no impact on this prosecutor, on this police officer,
Okay.
which surprised me because oftentimes, you can convince them of doing the right thing, and they often do. But in this particular case, I couldn't shake her. But I did convince the prosecutor, and he ultimately ended up dropping the charges because the judge would have convicted her. Like I said, I had one defense, but, a defense is as good as the judge who is willing to hear it and believe it and go for it. So victims advocacy comes in all kinds of ways, whether it's a client or whether it's someone who wants my assistance in, many other things that we do. In terms of assisting women who've been battered and when I was at Legal Services, we did a lot of that. And sadly, I did deal with a few Pakistani women, but by and large, you see it in every demographic.
Okay.
No one is immune to that, very sadly.
Unfortunately, yeah. And especially when the victim has financially, emotionally, immigration-wise, depended on an individual.
So that's a case that I will always remember because it was so...
I'm sure it was very emotional.
It really was.
And, that's... I'm sure this lady will call you odd hours and you will console her and all
My
that.
clients call me at all hours, and
Really?
I will take the call.
Wow.
I will never not take the call. I take the call, and I talk them through it because I've had some terrible things happen. I mean, you never know. When you're in dire straits and everything around you is falling apart, and the person that promised to love you is actually, your worst enemy,
No.
and you're living with that person, and you're also depending on that person, sometimes all they have is me. So, yes, I take those calls.
Wow. I was looking at your Facebook page, and I noticed a picture, something to do with water. Tell us, what is that about?
So, that project is called Waterfalls. It's also very near and dear to my heart.
Very nice.
My beloved father, who brought us to the United States many, many years ago as a young father, as an immigrant, passed away 4 years ago.
I'm
And
sorry to hear that.
my father was my hero. He was one of the greatest people I know, the biggest heart you will ever find. Even at his funeral, people were coming up to me and saying things like, back in 1980, whatever, your father helped me get a job when I was an immigrant, or your father gave me shelter, or your father, and he was always bringing people home and making sure they were taken care of. So I wanted to do something to honor my dad. So what I do is I build wells in honor of my dad, and what we do is we dedicate a well to a cause that was important to my dad. So, violence against women, I dedicated one well to Nabra Hussanan and Grace Mann, two very young women who lost their lives at the hands of, they were both murdered, and they lost their hands as a result of violence. One was Muslim, one was Jewish, both about the same age, and both amazing. Had they had the opportunity to do something, they'd already done amazing things with their life, but had they had an opportunity to just live, who knows? The world would have been better had they lived, had they not died.
Did you die really young? Or?
Very young, both under 20. Nabra actually was a few days before Ramadan in Reston, and Grace actually went to my alma mater. So that well was dedicated to those amazing heroes. Another well was dedicated to my friend Craig Max, who died by suicide. We dedicated that well to the LGBTQ community as well. Another well was dedicated to poverty. So we picked something that was important to my dad.
Correct.
And I built a well in honor of the cause, and we usually dedicate it to someone.
And where are these
so they're in Pakistan,
okay.
But it's not limited to Pakistan. Just pick cities that are in desperate need of water, because as you know, in Pakistan, if I want water, I just get up out of my bed and go to my bathroom and have a glass of water or go downstairs. There, kids have to walk miles just to get clean water.
Correct.
People don't understand how privileged we really are here in America.
Oh, absolutely.
So without water, just forget about cleaning yourself. I'm talking about just clean drinking water they don't have.
A simple one glass of water. It's a difficult thing. So it's fantastic that you came at such a young age and you still very much connected to your roots. So do you go back often, or?
I have not been back in many, many years. I went back in, I'd say about 10 years ago. But most of my family is here in the U.S.
Oh, okay.
So, my next trip will probably be associated with a project that I'll be doing there, and I'm not sure which one at this point, but that would be the purpose of the next trip after the pandemic.
Yeah, because there's a lady doctor, friend of mine. Her and her husband practice here, and she goes back quite often, and she does the same thing. That she has a project in mind and how she can facilitate medical facilities to the areas where there is no.
That's amazing.
So she does that a lot. So, do you mind if I ask you what part of Pakistan you were born?
Yeah, Karachi.
Okay. And the City of Lights.
The City of Lights.
Fabulous. Yeah. I love Karachi, even though was not born and raised in Karachi, but I go back quite often.
Yeah.
And I make a point to go to Karachi, and it's a lively town. I grew up in Islamabad, so versus Karachi, Islamabad is very quiet. I don't want to say dull because it's my town, but Karachi was a lot of fun.
Yeah,
it's a lot of fun. I have a lot of friends there. So, Andaleeb, the accomplishment, it's very impressive. Your resume is amazing. You have done so much at such a young age. My request to you, look in the camera and give a message to, because the reason I'm saying is this, in order for you to be able to help a person, man or woman or a child, doesn't matter, your education definitely helps, and B, your profession also helps. And I'm sure you have come across people who are shy of coming forward. They will just live in that abuse or whatever not happy situation they are in, but they can't reach out to you. So it's not an advertisement as such, but a message for those people. Because in a husband and wife relation, it's not only the wife which is get abused. Men
husbands
also
do as well, and I've done cases with husband male abuse.
Correct. So if you can give our audience, just look right at the camera and give this message that, look, I'm here.
Yeah, and we're all here. We're all here for you. Even if you don't need don't have a legal issue per se, but we're here for you. I mean, you've got the mosque, you've got your community. I just want to tell the women and the men and the children, whoever's feeling hopeless, that have courage and a kind heart. With that, there's no obstacle you cannot conquer. There were times in my life where, when I was a kid, there was a time when I didn't speak English. And by second grade, I was winning spelling bees. Just believe in yourself. Even if everybody at the table doesn't believe in you, believe in yourself. And go to your community to get that courage. If you done everything you can and you still feel hopeless, there's always someone there who can help you.
Wonderful. Fantastic message. So, ladies and gentlemen, today's topic was emotional and sensitive. However, in my opinion, everybody needs some kind of help. It could be emotional, financial, or just somebody just to talk to. And what you mentioned, that you will go there to jail and on Christmas Eve, or Eve of Eid, Chandrat, or whatever. You would put your personal agenda aside and give preference to that one particular person, which is, it's incredible. It's very noble.
And you know why I did that? I'll tell you.
Tell me.
Just to plug my dad, both my parents are my heroes. My dad and my mom said, when I told them that I wanted to go to law school and become a lawyer, they said, you know what, whatever you do, have it be based on honesty and devotion and commitment. Don't ever do anything. Don't step on people's feet, because every dollar you make, even if it's a penny a dollar, it will continue to multiply and multiply if it's based on honesty and commitment and integrity. But $1 million that somebody might give you that was as a result of stepping on someone's toes or hurting someone, it will turn to gravel. That bread will go away.
Correct.
And that's something that's always stayed in my mind. That's something my father told me. My mother reiterates that. So for me, when I did go to, and oftentimes it was Eid, because I represented a lot of Muslims as well. But I just didn't want to focus in on them, because that's who we are. They're our people. But you have to put yourself aside, because we're not selling, as a lawyer, I'm not selling textiles. I'm not selling, it's not like going to 7-Eleven and buying milk. I'm dealing with human beings. And they come with thoughts and feelings and a heart. And I never want anyone to walk away from me, as I said, feeling, just small or feeling incomplete. So that's really why I became a lawyer.
That's very noble, and hats off to your parents. They have taught you very well, and the way you talk about your father, I'm sure it shows that he was an amazing guy, and also your mother. Another question, if you allow me to. A lot of people, especially in the cases of divorces, men feel that the law is never on their side. So other attorney friends I have, and they said, yeah, you're right. The judiciary system is not that just all the time. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I mean, it would depend on the case. I mean,
Yeah,
I'd have to
but I'm
hear
just
more
talking in
about the
general.
facts, but I think, anytime someone walks out of the courtroom having lost, they're going to feel that way.
That's true.
I'd have to know more. It also depends on the judges. I mean, we have 12 judges on the General District Court. So, I think we have about the same amount in circuit court. And it really depends on the judge you draw. Everybody brings their experiences. But I think that if you look at our system of justice, it's not perfect. But having been to Pakistan, having spent time there, I've been there, it is infinitely better than any other country.
Absolutely.
Infinitely.
Because, I'm like, the things which have happened since 9/11, Muslims would have been in really bad shape.
Right.
But that is not the truth. It's a democracy and the freedom, and we as Muslims, we live in this country, we
Right.
pay our taxes, and we live with the head high. But going back to what we were talking about, that in any of your cases, in 15 years of your experience or your professional life, did you ever feel that justice was not served?
I have felt that way.
You have, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, because
You
that's
can't be a lawyer for this long and then not feel that
correct.
way.
And not because you lost a case or you won a case. That's irrelevant. That sometimes you feel.
There are times when I won a case and I felt like I shouldn't have won that, you know?
Oh, okay, okay.
Not because, well, I actually, let me rephrase that. I probably should have won and did win on the law, but the individual I was representing was probably not deserving of that kind of a break.
Okay.
You know, sometimes you have those kinds of clients, but again, and that's very rare because 99% of the time I really love my clients. And you know, but there are situations where you may not agree with what somebody has done, but then the way they were treated, or you have to, it's like I said, you have to protect their rights.
Correct.
And that's what I'm doing.
Right.
So, yeah, it's not always about the person that you're representing, it is the cause. But thankfully, alhamdulillah, I'm in a position where I can now, after all these years, pick and choose clients. And I usually do pick the ones that I feel that need me the most and are the most deserving.
Wonderful. Well, Andaleeb, it was such a pleasure. And
You
it
didn't
was
talk about cyber law.
Oh, please. I am so sorry.
It's okay.
Please elaborate cyber law.
Okay.
And to talk to
Cyberbullying.
cyberbullying.
Okay.
Yes, we.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
So that's
Thank
why
you.
you had called me out here.
Yes.
So as you may know, about 5-6 years ago, I was maliciously targeted by some online bullies who had targeted me for my race, ethnicity, gender. Horrible comments were written about me. False and disparaging public pronouncements were made about me and my practice. And when I first learned about it, I was hurt because it was online on a website that received 1 million new users a month. It was huge. So, you know, I was aghast when I saw it. But I decided to pursue finding the identity of these online detractors. And I did that not so much because of the racially motivated comments or referring to me as a fat packy, which is so offensive to us.
Absolutely.
You know? Not necessarily because, and there's many other comments that I won't say because this is a family show, but not necessarily because of that, but really my theory, my lawsuit was really defamation because I'd worked so hard to build my practice and earn my reputation, my name, my father's name, and for someone to come in and say things that just were not true, you know, and make these kinds of disgusting pronouncements about my practice, I decided to pursue it, and I'll tell you, I had so many sleepless nights. This is where the whole courage thing comes in. I actually stayed up all night and pecked out a lawsuit, even though I do criminal defense work. I said, you know what? I'm a lawyer. I can do this. I pecked out a lawsuit after having spoken to a bunch of lawyers who did defamation. They all said, you know, there's too many protections here. You're not going to get anywhere. Get over it. Let it go were the kinds of comments I heard. And I thought, you know, I'm not going to let it go. I filed the lawsuit, and ultimately, I did get the identities of the people.
But the lawsuit was against the website?
The lawsuit was against, I named the website owner, and I named a bunch of John Does, the actual people who
Okay.
So it wasn't really after the website. And initially, I had lost a lot of the motions to learn their names because it got a little convoluted, so I won't go into all of that. But ultimately, I did learn the names of the online detractors, and they came back to, there were 3, but I learned the identity of 2, and it came back to 2 white male colleagues of mine.
Colleagues.
Oh. And it was a horrible 2 years while I was doing this because I didn't get a lot of support in the beginning, and I was on my own in the beginning, and it was horrible. And I'll tell you how horrible it was in that some of my colleagues thought I was sort of, you know, just spinning my wheels. And like I said, they wanted me to let it go. I had one colleague who said, this cause belongs on TMZ. And it was very, very hurtful to me because I thought, here we are. This was right before the Me Too movement. And here I am, a colleague of yours, a female, an immigrant, and you should be supporting me, not further ridiculing me, not further bullying me by saying go to TMZ. So I had to actually compartmentalize. I had to just set that aside and keep going with this thing because I knew that these were colleagues who had done this to me, because here's why. I've treated people my whole life with so much respect. Even every one of my clients will tell you she treats us with respect and kindness. And so I knew my clients wouldn't write those disgusting things about me. I knew it was a competitor. So when I was able to unveil their identities, and I'll tell you, one of the guys, I actually referred cases to his firm. The other guy I hardly knew. He did a lot of court-appointed work. I hardly knew him. I have no idea why they targeted me this way, but it was so ugly. When I unveiled them, I named them in my lawsuit, and I was offered money by both of them to drop the lawsuit. One of them offered me $25,000 to drop the lawsuit. Now, this is the important part. I had intended, my goal was to ultimately, once I got the names and once I got a ruling from the judge that this indeed is defamation and you can go forward, my plan was to probably non-suit the case, which means drop the case, because I didn't want to go through a trial. That's embarrassing. All of this, you can make more money, but you can't get your life back. So I certainly didn't want their money. And that ultimately happened. I actually won this case. People don't really know what the final results of this case were, but our judge, a circuit court judge, Judge Ascarati, ruled in my favor because they filed what's called a summary judgment. They wanted the case to basically be dismissed. This is not defamation. This is somebody just voicing their opinions. And she said, no, this is defamation. This is absolutely defamation. You're going to move forward. So once I got that green light, and then another judge said, you're not outside the statute of limitations as to Brian Roman's case. At that point, I non-suited his case. So what people don't realize, it wasn't money that I was going after. I actually won this case, and I actually rejected the offers of money. I just wanted my life back, and I wanted the entire bar to know that these two culprits, because they could run for judge. I mean, who knows what they're going to do. I wanted them outed, and I wanted them outed as the horrible, awful people, bigoted people that they were. And so that was one of my greatest, I feel like, challenges of my career, where I defended myself.
Of course.
And then I went on to pass what the press has dubbed as Andy's Law. And it basically helps people, because I'm a lawyer, like I said, I didn't do that, but I figured out a way to do it. But this law actually assists other people who are in my position, that if they are being bullied or cyberbullied, or if they're dealing with online defamation, they can actually go and toll the statute so that the statute of limitations doesn't run as they learn the identity of these detractors and then move forward.
And it must be difficult because you are involved yourself and also representing yourself.
It was horrible.
So emotions and professionalism and litigation and who not all mixed together.
Well, my plan was not to actually litigate the case. My plan was ultimately to drop the case. So filing of the lawsuit, it seems so hopeless because, the attorneys I'd consulted with were right. I mean, they did have a lot of First Amendment privileges. And I won't go into how I got the name, but filing the lawsuit led to me getting the information almost accidentally. One defendant, Brian Roman, they just didn't file their objection in time. So objection to Verizon giving me the identity of the IP address. So that I kind of got by accident. But it was because I filed the lawsuit. And then the other one filed a claim with his insurance company, and that insurance company sent the information to me. And we talked to the bar, and the bar said this is fair game, that it's a third, you got the information from a third party, so you can, amend your lawsuit and name them. So I got the information lawfully, but accidentally.
Correct.
And so that's
Which
kind
helped
of how
you with your case.
Yeah.
So that brings me to...
And my best friend, Susan Ehrman, was right there with me throughout the whole process.
Hats off to Susan.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that brings me to another 30-second of a message into the camera about children who get bullied online or in school, things like that. What would, besides reaching out to people like you, what else they can do?
Yeah, when we look at a lot of this cyberbullying stuff or just bullying in school, it seems sad to me that when we talk about these jokes and these media tropes and these comments that people make about a particular group, a particular marginalized group, whether it's us Muslims or Pakistanis or Indians or Asian communities going through it right now, what it ultimately does is it dehumanizes in the brain. It dehumanizes people so they feel comfortable that, oh, we can just go after this group. It's okay. It's almost like a war tactic. They used to do that in wars. You dehumanize the other side, so it's okay no matter what you do. It's okay, But it's not right. It's wrong, and we need to stop normalizing that because it contributes to this thinking of like viewing yourself as having less value. And we talked about this before, that, it's not so much about turning the other cheek or letting things go or telling your colleague to go to TMZ. It's about supporting one another and saying this is not okay. Because, and I brought my stats with me, but, cyberbullying contributed to suicide in high schools. I think it's doubled since 2017 of young kids. Not everybody can. I'm an attorney. I'm self-assured. I handled my lawsuit. I got through it. I passed a law. But you know what? It was killing me inside. Those 2 years were killing me inside. But what about young kids who can't cope, who don't have those kinds of mechanisms that we do as adults? So I would tell the kids whoever you are, just have courage. When you're faced with something like this, especially online, don't respond in kind. I never responded in kind. I didn't go in there and peck out. I set it aside, calmed myself down, and I used the resources that were available to me to fight for myself. And you can do that too. So that would be my greatest advice to kids, is that you do have value. Don't let other people's words and behavior make you change your impression of yourself. Always stay classy. Always walk with integrity, and it will get you very far. Because bullies never win, right?
They don't.
Yeah.
They don't. One day or after, they regret it. Or it's a sign of insecurity also.
Right.
If somebody doesn't have anything else, they have ego, and they go down after the weak one. That was an incredible, thank you. That was an incredible message. It was important. So to children out there, don't take it, as they say, don't take it laying down, right?
Right.
Yeah. Stand up for your right, and you will have less problem in life. Andeep, thank you.
Aapki Urdu is perfect.
Oh.
When you were doing your intro, I thought you went straight from English to Urdu, and I thought, wow, I thought I spoke good Urdu. I thought I spoke well.
You do.
But Aapki Urdu is fantastic.
I thank my parents for that.
Yeah.
My father and my mother both were in broadcasting, in radio. I don't have my father anymore, but my mom thank you, in television dramas and stuff. So, as a matter of fact, this program named Aap Aur Aap is because my father started a program on Pakistan television in 1972.
Wow.
And the name of the program was Aap Aur Aap. तो मैंने सोचा कि और तो मैं अपने वालिदैन के लिए कुछ कर नहीं सक पाया, तो इसी चीज़ को लेके चलें, और एक तरह से जब भी मैं प्रोग्राम की रिकॉर्डिंग करता हूँ मुझे अब्बू याद रहते हैं. अदर मौक़ों पर, दूसरे मौक़ों पर भी याद
माशाल्लाह।
रहते हैं, लेकिन एक ये जो कनेक्शन है वो was very good.
और ये बहुत बड़ी चीज़ है जो
जी
आप
जी जी,
अपने
मतलब
डैड के मतलब फुटस्टेप्स में जो आप follow कर रहे हैं।
he had really big shoes, so
Yeah.
there's no way I can ever
You
fulfill
have.
it.
You
नहीं नहीं,
have.
वो आपका ज़रा नवाज़ी है, वरना ये बहुत मुश्किल
See,
काम
those
है।
are the big words that you use that I don't use.
नहीं, ये इट्स बिकॉज हमारे अब्बू और अम्मी दोनों आज की तारीख में भी अगर मैं कोई शेर पढ़ देता हूँ तो पहले अम्मी के होते कि अरे भाई ये लफ्ज़ ऐसे नहीं, ये है, तो you know, but thank you for the compliment.
Thank you
Urdu
for
is
having
very
me
close
here.
to, yeah, thank you, recording and on what you're busy court and all that, but I thank you. It was very educational. It was amazing to have
Well, thank you
in
for
our studio.
having me. I'm a very small person, so for you to even invite me onto your show is very humbling to me.
देखिए, कतरा कतरा बन के समंदर बनता है, तो कोई छोटा कोई बड़ा नहीं होता, हर एक की अपनी अपनी कंट्रीब्यूशन है, हर एक के है, तो सारे कतरों को जोड़ते रहे, connect the dots and stuff,
Yeah.
and तो उससे
Samandar, right.
समंदर बन जाता है,
Right.
ठीक है, तो थैंक यू अगेन, लेडीज एंड जेंटलमैन, आई होप कि आपको मज़ा आया हो, और मैंने तो बहुत कुछ सीखा आज अंदलीब से, और ऐसे ही लोगों को मेहमान बनाने के लिए मेरी ख्वाहिश होती है कि हमारे शो में आएँ, जो कुछ कम्युनिटी को सिखा सकें, कुछ कम्युनिटी के लिए कर रहे हैं, और कम्युनिटी प्लीज़ कम आउट। अगर किसी भी किस्म की आपको किसी भी तकलीफ़ है, हमारा नेक्स्ट टीवी का जो स्टूडियोज़ हैं, इनको कांटेक्ट करें, वहाँ से हमारी इन्फॉर्मेशन मिल जाएगी, अंदलीब की मिल जाएगी, और इसमें ये इश्तिहारबाजी नहीं है, ये एक इंसानियत के नाते हम गुफ्तगू कर रहे हैं। तो अगले प्रोग्राम तक के लिए अगर ज़िंदा रहे तो ज़रूर मुलाकात होगी, वरना ये हमारा सलाम आखिर है। खुदा आपको खुश रखे, खुदा हाफिज़।